Nā koutou katoa. E mihi mahana kia koutou, kua tae mai ki tēnei hui o Transparency International New Zealand. Haere, nā mātanga o te moana nui a kiwa. Talofa lava, malo lelei, nisa bula, kia orana, hello geta, aloha, good day, kaya wanya, and kia ora. Tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou, tēnā koutou, kia ora mai tātou. I'm Julie Haggie, Executive Director of Transparency International New Zealand. Greetings to you. We are honoured by your attendance at our webinar. Greetings to experts from across the Great Pacific Ocean. In whanganui a Aotearoa, we're into the second month of spring, he ahi maru, but whilst there's a clear sky, it's really cold and I've got the heater on. I'm going to open with an extract from a poem by Teresia Te Aiwa, and it's about islands, being in islands. It's, shall we make the island a verb? As a noun, it's so vulnerable to impinging forces. Let us turn the energy of the island inside out. Let us island the world. Let us teach the inhabitants of planet Earth how to behave as if we're all living on islands. So it's my honour to greet you today to the first of our third set of webinars that Transparency International New Zealand is running to encourage information sharing and courageous discussion with Pacific people. Our aim is to improve understanding and transparency around some gnarly issues. And this series is about helping change that. It's about learning from those who've gone before, lifting up each other's voices and finding the courage to step into political spaces, from the village council to parliament. I encourage you to visit our YouTube site, which we'll post a link to in the chat. Over our full 3 series, speakers have shared their insights and examples of practical application of Indigenous governance in the Pacific, as well as their perspectives on organised crime and institutional approaches to corruption. And reducing corruption is what Transparency International and the global movement are all about. Ngā mihi to Rochelle Stewart, who's curated these series of webinars and done all the hard work, and to Zenaida for Purpose, who is managing our tech. We can also only do these forums with funding. Thank you to Transparency International, with funding provided by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade in New Zealand and the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade in Australia. I'm going to hand over to Susana shortly, but just some housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube site. Please ensure you mute your microphones, and bearing in mind we have variable internet connection, we just hope it will hold, but that's the way of it. This is an information sharing event. We assume a range of understanding of the topic, so if there's anything you don't understand, please ask a question in the chat. And if you want to ask a question of the speakers, please do so. Use that same question in the chat. There's no dumb questions. We want to have kōrero, it's useful, and we're very happy to field questions after the event. And finally, our values are integrity, courage, transparency, respect, and non-partisanship. And we bring those values to this hui today. We respect different opinions, and we can all learn from each other. Now, that's enough talk from me. I'm now going to hand over to Susana, but I'll introduce her. Susana Lei'autua is a journalist and broadcaster with Radio New Zealand National, where she is a presenter, producer, and newsreader. She is from the Lei'autua and Taupa'u families of Manono in Samoa. Susana is the founder of LAKA in Onehunga, which champions heritage and contemporary art and culture of the Pacific region. With her theatre practice, Susana was a Fulbright Senior Scholar at New York's University Asia Pacific American Institute. Talofa lava, Susana, over to you.
Talofa, whakataitiele Julie, tēnā koutou katoa, malo elelei ni sambola vinaka, halo, talofa lava, welcome. I am excited and I am nervous. I am excited and nervous for today's webinar, Women Parliamentarians Lessons from the Inside, brought to you, as we've heard, from Executive Director of Transparency International New Zealand, Julie Haggie. I'm honoured, and I want to take this moment to immediately introduce our speakers. Anahila L, Kanongata'a, Tanya Waqanika, Anahila here in Auckland, Tanya in Suva, and Litiana Carlo Kalsrap, who is joining us from Port Vila, Vanuatu. each bring their own specific experiences to our talanoa today, and each will bring this topic to life for us and with us. And it's this collaborative nature of our talanoa that I really want us all to lean into. We're taking this moment, and I want to acknowledge each of you for joining us, Indigenous leaders, environmental stewards, civil society advocates, policy makers, youth leaders, researchers. Maybe you wear more than one of those hats. Maybe those titles, roles don't properly articulate your beingness. So please take that time now to pop into the chat where you're joining us from across the moana, the motu of the moana, the Pacific Ocean. Also taking this moment to thank you for your time and your attention and your input. It's our shared intention today, and the nature of that is really going to feed and grow the talanoa that we are starting, but in many ways that we are continuing. From our speakers, we ask for their insights and their reflections, and we'll begin with hearing from each speaker about a brief personal experience, the challenges they've faced regarding integrity, transparency, ethics and politics, lessons learned, but those are jumping off points. I don't want any of us to be limited by this so much as take this and run with it. After we hear from each speaker, I'll then moderate a conversation with our speakers. And then once that's flowing, we're going to open it to a question and answer session with each of you. Please, at any time, as Julie mentioned, place your thoughts, questions into the chat. Our first speaker this morning is Anahila L Kanongata'a, here in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, Aotearoa. Anahila is a social worker, politician. She served as a Member of Parliament in New Zealand for the Labour Party from 2017 to 2023. As the director of her own consultancy, Anahila is dedicated to awakening leaders to their full potential. Anahila, I hand this session over to you.
Malo au pito, Susana. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. E mihi ana ki te tātou kuini ngā hau pono, ngā wai hono I te pō mo tōna whānau ariki nui. Malo e lau Mārie, tā alofa, whalofa lahe atu, kia orana, pula, hello, and greetings. So I began greeting you in Te Reo Māori because I am speaking from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Thank you, Susana, for your warm introduction. And I'd like to acknowledge Julie, the captain of Transparency International New Zealand, for your invitation for us to board your ship today. I'd like to acknowledge my fellow shipmates, our speakers today, Tanya and Litiana. I'm honoured as Whewhine Tonga Nofo Aotearoa, New Zealand, a Tongan woman living here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, who joined the talanoa this afternoon. So my talanoa today, my wholau, or my journey. My ship's journey into politics was a continuation of my maternal grandfather, Isoa Kanongata'a. Then late Isoa was appointed as officer golo, or town officer of Hofoa. In Tonga is where I'm from, in 1921 by the late Tonga's Queen Salote, Birolevu Tupo III. So it was Isoa that told me that had always called me a member of parliament of my family, and that he said that one day I would be a member of parliament. So I grew up with that. My name Anahila is my mum's friend from here in Aotearoa. So I always knew that there was a place called Aotearoa, and that my name whakapapa to Aotearoa. So my mother, Ailine Tupo Kanongata'a, set sail to Aotearoa, to find a new land for our family and to settle. And I joined her in 1980 here in Aotearoa. With the blessings of my father, Popoai Hogland Finau. His ancestry is from Sweden and from Niua in Tonga. So our ancestors are migrants and are travellers. And my father's word was always look to the horizon for abundance there. So I arrived in Aotearoa And in my journey, I came across unfamiliar seas and tides. However, I came and I had the faith of Tonga's wisdom of Otua mo Tonga ka Hoptowhia. God and Tonga are my inheritance. So the challenges I experienced arriving in New Zealand was cultural, adjusting to a new way of life, a new way of life where humility was often mistaken for weakness and the Tongan values not always understood. It was social, feeling homesick from my extended family and community networks. Ones where I felt a warmth, it was all new to me. Language, navigating English as a second language, made communication difficult when I was outside my home. Economic, watching my parents navigate their ship of work in a factory, supporting our family in Aotearoa and in Tonga. Systematic, facing unfamiliar systems, limited access to services, and moments of bias and misunderstanding, and of course political. Arriving here in Aotearoa, learning more about the Treaty of Waitangi from a place in Tonga where we were not colonized to colonization, living here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So through my family and I call that legacy of my family, arriving here in Aotearoa, my kainga's voyage in Aotearoa was of resilience and of hope. I talk about those challenges because those challenges became their many forms into my journey, into politics here. So in 2008, I decided to join the New Zealand Labour Party. So that's the ship where I boarded as a member of the New Zealand Labour Party. And that's because in 2008, the captainship at the helm, Helen Clark lost the election, and the new captain in New Zealand government was John Key. So as a manager working in a government organised agency, I then realised why my parents have always told me to vote the Labour Party. And it's because my values aligned with that of the Labour Party. So what was important was that I went with those new challenges, arriving as a new migrant, again into being a member of the Labour Party for 9 years. So in 2010, I decided to put my name forward to be a local government person. So out of 16 candidates, I stood in. Out of 16 candidates, I was the last person onto the local board. 2011, I decided to put my name in the hat and stand as a candidate to be a Member of Parliament. I didn't get in 2011. In 2013, I created a leadership program, Whakataukatea, as a give back to my community for my school at Onehunga High School for Tongan students. 2014, I had a go at again at being a candidate for the Labour Party. I didn't get in. And in 2014 is when people started saying to me, feedback or the storms I faced when I wanted to be a member of Parliament, a candidate. People had said to me, Anahila, you're too loud. Anahila, you're not the right look, you're fat. Anahila, your name is too long, you want to shorten it. But then my name was Kanongata'a Suisuiki. So they said, Anahila, your name's too long, you need to shorten it. And then my family, with their jokes and their wit, also said to me is, oh my gosh, can you stop already? We're beginning to be embarrassed. It's the third time you stood and you didn't get in. Why are you going? Why do you put us through all of this? So the voices that came, if we were talking about being a journey or a voyage, were the storms, learning, navigating the waves and tides that came in. But my taumua was that I was to, my grandfather already had a vision for me that I believed that his vision was that I would be a member of Parliament. I, as a manager in a government agency, saw the changes of policies that came in with the national government, and I had believed that people were better off with a Labour government. And in 2017, hopped on the ship again in the Labour Party, and with the new captain, the Right Honourable Jacinda Ardern, I got into Parliament as a Member of Parliament. So I then, I spoke about the challenges before when I arrived in New Zealand. It was the same challenges, but different. And in terms of different, as a crew member, I needed to know what my responsibilities are, what my whatongia was as a new Member of Parliament, we were now in government. Jacinda was the Prime Minister. And through the years that Jacinda's leadership at the helm navigated through COVID-19, through the earthquake eruption, through the shootings in Christchurch. So those things, I was able to see my role as a crew member and what the resilience and hope of my family came about. I see that in terms of supporting the leadership, which was Jacinda Ardern at the time. Jacinda left government, and there was a new leader that came on, which was the Right Honourable Chris Hipkins. So I then had to celebrate the joy of the last leader, but then hop on to the new ship, the 2-hour old ship, with the new captain now, the Right Honourable Chris Hipkins. So throughout those journeys, I carried the lessons that I've learned, or the teachings of my family, in terms of knowing what my purpose is, and the tenacity to continue. Their makonaki, or their teachings in terms of my faith. My mother's wisdom was that I needed to take God with me every time, everywhere, and at every time, because she noticed that at times that was missing in my life. My father's wisdom in terms of always looking at the horizon, and my grandfather's dream for me to become a member of Parliament in Songa, but I realised that in New Zealand. Feel free to let me know how long I've spoken for, because I feel like I've been talking for a long time. But what I wanted to share was that, one is that the challenges are something that will strengthen us, and that the faith of our the faith and spirituality of our ancestors are with us all the time, going through the journey of navigating new seas and new waters. Is the waters are new, but the wisdom of our ancestors are with us, and they're not old. I think I ran out of time now. Hopefully I've been able to share something about my journey, that it didn't take, it took 9 years to become a member of Parliament, and the 6 years that I was a member of Parliament. And the journey going forward, I took Whakataukatea and created that as my business, to continue to teach the learnings that I had earned along the way, and share that with the next generation of leaders. Malo Aupito.
Malo Aupito Anahila. Thank you. Our second speaker today is Tanya Waqanika. Tanya is a Fijian lawyer, former member of Parliament in Fiji, speaking with us from Suva. And there are some resonances with what Anahila has said, as I just share a little of your biography, Tanya, in hand to you. From the village of Ngatumua on Kandavu Island, Tanya studied law at Bond University, Queensland, before obtaining a Master's of Business Administration at the University of South Pacific, Fiji. Tanya is a member of the Bar of the Supreme Court of New South Wales and of the High Court in Fiji. In 2018, Tanya was a candidate in the 2018 elections in Fiji, but was not elected. And in 2019, she was nominated by the Social Democratic Liberal Party to be the Speaker of Parliament, but was beaten in 2020 following the departure of the Leader of the Opposition at the time, Sitiveni Rabuka. Tanya took his position in Parliament as the candidate of SEDELPA, taking the representation of women in Fiji's Parliament to more than 20%. And I just wanted to acknowledge something from your maiden speech, Tanya, when you spoke about seeking the Lord's counsel to become a member of Parliament. Let us speak to the issues and not personalities, but also, as you acknowledged, your great-grandfather's wooden chest that he left Kandavu with as a symbol of not forgetting your village and where you came from. Over to you, Tanya. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much. I was quite blown away that you sort of you read out my CV. I was like, my God, you even read through my my speech. Yes, I'm a lawyer by profession. I'm a mother of 4 kids. My road to politics, I mean, you all know that Fiji, for 16 years, we were We had a coup in 2006, and then we had the military government, and then the Bainimarama government came in. And in 2018, one of our former members of parliament, and a lady that I have a lot of respect for and I look up to, she's no longer a member of parliament, is Litiana Carlo. She, she rang me and she asked if I wanted to stand for SODELPA. That was back in 2017. I lost my job in 2014, December, I believe a week before Christmas. And I tell people, as late as last week, I went to our alumni, one of our business symposium, and I told them, and I say this all the time, whenever I'm given the opportunity to speak, to give public talks, one of the best things that ever happened to me was getting fired. And that's the beauty about it, because it gave me the opportunity to go into politics. But I went into politics not for vengeance, but just to try and get the other government out, in which we successfully all did, the three parties, the NFP, PAP, and SODELPA. But to have a change in our nation, and I believe it's not good governance to have a government run for 2 terms, anything, or at least a leader for more than 2 terms. So I came in. I've always been ever since I was young, I've always been outspoken, and my family members have always told me, you should be a lawyer, then you should be a politician. So yeah, well, I became both. And when you're a lawyer, you sort of have that the competitive edge when you enter politics. And yeah, so I became a politician, and because of the boards that I serve on, I can no longer actively participate in politics. So most of us that are sitting on boards who were involved in the last elections, we are no longer involved in our party politics. But I follow politics. I love politics, and I always talk politics. And in Fiji, like most of the Pacific Island nations, we're very small, and everybody, is related to somebody, and politics is always one of the topics that comes up. Yeah.
Before we let you go, Tanya, I just wanted to get a sense if, in your time as a politician and now back in law and serving on the boards that you're serving on, what lessons can you think of, obviously just off the top of your head, even conversationally, what lessons come to mind when you think about your time as a serving politician?
Well, number one, you got to have deep pockets, especially in the Pacific Islands. I mean, you got to have deep pockets, because everybody comes to you with their minute problems. And because I have my own law firm and I have a business on the side, apart from my own law firm, one of the things was to tell them, listen, I'm not going to be feeding you. I am going to empower you. And that's a mentality I believe a lot of Pacific Island politicians face. We need to let our people know, giving them things. It's like bribery. So you got to have deep pockets. So most of the time, I would go out and help. If it wasn't for my law firm, if it wasn't for my investment, it would have been hard. So during COVID, as a member of parliament, most of us back then, we were helping people. So number 2, you got to have a strong network. The Pacific way of politics is your network to the Vanua, to the people, and to the Lotu. If you're a person that does not network, forget about it, because you're not relatable to the people. Number 3 is an Itoke woman. I went to an all-girls school. I went to Anahila L school, and people in Fiji or people that know Fiji, Anahila L school is one of the top predominantly Itoke girls' school. And a lot of Linda Tambuya went to ECS. Lenora came for briefly. So it was a school that pushed a lot of women leaders in whatever sectors of the community. And because it was predominantly Itoke, I came from a suburban school from Suva. So we used to speak English all the time with a bit of Itoke. But my itoke, my vernacular sharpened when I became a politician. And you had to, because you can't speak in a community hall full of my own people, and then I'm speaking in English. And I had this very dynamic, and I still, campaign manager, what is Soninata? And if I'm speaking in English, he will just cut me off in front of everyone. So people that know me know that, wow, your itoke, your English is, your Fijian, your itoke vernacular is really sharpened. Learn the language, learn the culture. Because when you go to certain places, you know who to address and the keywords you say. There's certain ways of saying things without offending those that are sitting there and listening. Number 3, you need to know what's happening. No man's an island on its own. So you need to know what's happening globally and locally. Those are just some of the key things. But for any politician, money is oxygen to campaigning. So don't wait for anyone. You fundraise on your own. And that's what I did. I used to fundraise because I could not be relying on my investment, on my law firm. I had to do fundraising. And that's one thing I'm good at, and being a businesswoman, it was easy for me to do fundraising. And that's what's carried me. Otherwise, you have no money. It limits your campaign. Number 2, you'll be relying on others to pay for you, and then you owe them once you go in. So for me, I didn't owe anyone anything because I funded myself. Thank you.
Thank you too. We'll circle back to all these themes that you and Anahila have raised
Thank you.
when we have a wider conversation. But thank you so much. Thank you, Tanya. Coming now to our third speaker, Litiana Carlsrap. Litiana, I'm just going to refer to my notes, so I'm going to apologise in advance if I'm taking from your speech, but it's always a lovely moment to be able to research the people, research each of you a little bit, just a little bit. Litiana is from Pango Ifati, Vanuatu. And I just want to pick up on this moment. In 1980, Vanuatu became independent. 40 years later, in 2020, Litiana was the youngest candidate in the general elections. Litiana is a youth leader, has been a youth leader for a long time, committed to mobilising young people as a force for positive social and environmental change. In 2018, Litiana received the Queen's Young Leader Award, organising a range of activities from beach cleanups and tree planting initiatives to raising awareness about climate change and the issues of marginalised groups in the community. With her extensive experience garnered from volunteering, including for 350 Vanuatu v Pride, also working in gender justice, youth and livelihoods for Oxfam in Vanuatu, with long-term goals to become a politician, and also noting that her grandfather was in a political field. Over to you, Litiana. Thank you so much for being with us for today's conversation.
Thank you, Susana. First of all, I want to thank Transparency New Zealand, and also it's an honor to have speakers who have been members of Parliament to be in this space to share my story. After year 13, I decided that after trying out university for maybe the first and the second semester, I wanted to do more on volunteering. So the aspiration of becoming a politician started in primary. I grew up with a grandfather that was an MP for some time and also was a minister. So seeing how he helped the community, how he always offered lending hand to those in need, inspired me to do something for others. I believe that volunteer work was a space where I could do that. The importance of networking, knowing about each other's issues and trying to find a solution to address that. So back in 2020, I decided that I wanted to contest. It was a good and a bad experience for me. Our last member of parliament at that time was 1996. So it has been a while since a woman even tried to enter parliament. It was challenging, especially not having that proper support, especially from other women. Um, there were at times a lot of criticism, especially when you decide to enter a space that is male dominated. I know around the Pacific, a lot of you will relate to our cultures and religious values. But as a young woman, as a youth, I felt that it was safe for me to want to try for something that I knew in my heart that I had the passion for. Vanuatu is well known for its political. I would I don't want to add any more to that, but uh, Vanuatu is a country that has a lot of challenges, especially if you as a youth want to enter in the political space. But I believe that you you cannot be afraid to want to try something that you know that you were meant to do, even if you fail. For me, I'm happy to say during leadership workshops that I'm invited to attend, I always tell my youth peers that I am happy that I tried, but I am also happy that I failed because there's a purpose for everything. The main challenge being a young woman is um, is that people will always look down on you. They will underestimate your potential. They will give you really. I face a lot of criticism, but having that proper support from families, from friends, it encouraged me to want to try again. So I would encourage other aspiring leaders, if this is something that you want to do, if this is something that your heart is set for, please give it a go. You will always, for me, you will not succeed the first time, but this will not stop me from trying to contest again in the next election. But yeah, as a getting experience from the volunteer work that I do, especially with youth in different communities across Vanuatu, especially in the climate space, in the gender justice space. So this has sharpened my uh, sharpened my way of thinking. It has made me feel empowered. It has given me opportunities to help other people, and I think this is something that, as youths, we should want to try and want to do. So, yes, as a young leader, please underestimate yourself, but try, always try, always try to achieve what you want to do.
Litiana, if I may, how do you keep yourself inspired, motivated?
So apart from having a full-time job, I do a lot of volunteering on the side. So as much as possible, I try to organize leadership awareness, climate change awareness, just to reach other youths who did not have that same opportunity as I did. So it's all about helping others. So in my spare time, I'm either organizing small beach cleanups in my community or organizing workshops, or even visiting those in need. So this is something that I always try to find something to do, even if it's not in my community, it'll be at another community. So I think these things will help me be better prepared to try again in the future. So there will always be criticism. There will always be people who don't support you, but finding the passion in what you're doing now, this will give you motivation to want to try again. So this is something that keeps me busy. I know I have a lot of work to do. I may not understand everything in the political field, but learning every day is something that will make you grow as a leader.
I wanted to ask you if you had any support from more senior politicians in Vanuatu.
I did have support when I contested back in 2020, but this wasn't someone who was involved, who had been an MP before, but he had a lot of knowledge of the political space. So he was actually campaigning for a former MP, a former late MP who has passed away. So I contested in his political party. It was the former SG for for Sheva Province. His name is Mr. Morris Kalora. So he was my mentor. Him and Mrs. Alice. So they really had a lot of politics and volunteer work, and this was something that I drew inspiration from. So this really empowered me to try more, and them being older than me, having more than 10, 20 years of experience in doing what they've been doing, even before I was born. So this was really something that kept me going forward, and just having them there, even if I did not succeed, just having them there and emailing them, even giving them a call has allowed me to continue to want to try. So I think having that kind of moral support will go a long way, especially for a youth leader.
I also just want to acknowledge your line is coming in and out, but unless it gets really crazy, I want all of us, myself included, we're just going to stay patient with it so that we don't lose connection altogether. So it's great, thank you. And also just acknowledging the fact that we are able, through technology of present moment, connect with each other across the expanse of the Pacific. Despite the challenges, we're able to do it. So thank you so much, Litiana. Before we finish on this segment with you, I wanted to ask about people who had underestimated you, who had discovered that they'd underestimated you. Is there an example that you can share?
Let's just say that not only men, but also women who who are even relatives, or who have been with me during my volunteering journey. So this was something that, I only felt bad for a little bit, but if you want to succeed, you have to fail and you have to face criticism throughout your life. So this was something that made me strong, and not caring and just choosing to, we all have our goals in life. So it's you and you alone that will be able to do something to achieve that. It's hard, but you have to choose to be strong.
Thank you, Litiana. Acknowledging everyone who's on the call, and so that we can keep this as an active talanoa and not just a passive one, even though the four of us are having a good time speaking, please pop your questions into the chat at any time. We're now just going to head into a wider conversation, and I'm welcoming all participants to put your questions into that chat. For our three speakers today, Anahila, Tanya, Litiana, could each of you, and let's start with you, Anahila, we'll circle back to you, but this is open, there's no order here, but let's just start with you, Anahila, because we haven't heard your voice in a moment. Could we speak about the common barriers faced by women regarding political integrity? And this is us picking up on what you're talking about, Litiana, but let's go further if we can, or if you can expand on any experiences that you've had, including what's worked strategically to get through this.
All right. Thank you, Susana, and thank you, Tanya and Litiana, for your sharing. Well, when I started, I had said that I am a Whiwhine Tonga Nofo Aotearoa. So I'm a Tongan woman living in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So the concept of Aotearoa, New Zealand, in terms of the Labour Party, women has a strong voice and are respected within the Labour Party. So I spoke about that's the ship I chose to sail under. And in that, women are supported to have a voice. The structure, the system enables women to have a voice in the governing body. So there is a vice president woman within the Labour Party. We also have a women's group that we can join in terms, and there are systems put in place for women to have a voice and to be able to contribute into within the party. So one thing is to say that one of our values in terms of the Labour Party is that everyone's entitled to dignity. The system actually is created in a way that enables the dignity to come through the voices of women through within the Labour Party. I hope that answered it. It was about the system, and how I navigate that is that I bring along my Tongan values, my Tongan values in terms of a Tongan woman, I believe, is born into leadership, because we are born into our role in our families is to name the generations come, to name our children, and to name everything that we do. So we're given the majority of the time the honor of naming our future generations. So I bring that confidence with me as a older woman in my family, and also the system enables me to navigate and contribute. So that's why I started saying that I'm Tongan woman living in Aotearoa.
And just to pick up on something that you mentioned earlier, did your family get over the references to you being too noisy, not the right shape or size, not winning? How did that part resolve itself? Or is that just part of the atmosphere?
Yeah, so when I decided to be a candidate, that's what the feedback that was given to me by the people within the Labour Party when I asked for support and their advice. And the people giving that advice, people who have been in the party for some time, and that's what they see. So the view they gave was what they saw in me. Yeah. So, and they said, Anahila, you're too loud. Anahila, you too big. You're not the right look for Parliament. Your name is too long. You need to shorten it. So what that told me was it wasn't about the skills that I bring. It's just how they saw me and how they think a member of Parliament should be. So when I looked at it and I said, oh, if that's the only thing that's wrong with me, then I've got no problems. My family, they put in their jokes saying, oh, come on, Anahila, it's your third time trying, give it up.
Tanya and Litiana, jump in. Tanya, what have you got to add?
In terms of in terms of the support, I had a lot of support. First from my husband, he was my biggest supporter, and my children, 4 kids, and they're all big, 30, 25, 22, 21. So it was quite helpful because they all drive. And then my parents, my mom, my father's passed away well before I entered politics, and my siblings and their children and their spouses and my in-laws. So for me, the support was there. And also I had a great support for my extended family, my auntie, my dad's sister, and my cousins, my first cousins and all their children. Support it's very important. Very important, especially when you are, like I said, standing for politics in the Pacific Islands. You need that family support because everyone knows everyone. And if you don't have that support, don't stand for politics. You go to a hole, it's all empty. That's what for me, the support was, I had a great support. And in terms of women in SODELPA, SODELPA has, one thing about SODELPA, they've always pushed for women to stand. Always pushed for women, and it helped when we had the Maramambale Rokutundaketi, Roti Mumu Kepa. She's right now in New Zealand, and her presence pushed a lot of women. And in the last parliament, we had the Maramambale, we had Andiliti Nginimbaravi, we had Saloti Rondondro, we had Linda Tumbuya and myself from SODELPA, 5. And that was the most. And then NFP, they had Lenora Ngerengera Tambua. Lenora, Linda, and I, all from the same province. We're from Kandavo. So perhaps I can add that the Kandavo people, we love to have our women in parliament Now we only have 2, and yeah, hopefully we see more. And so DELPA, what helped was that they had a women's wing, a very powerful women's wing, and I was the former vice president of the women's wing with the late Dr. Mary Semisoni, the founder of Hot Bread Kitchen. So that really helped. And one thing I know, and I'm sure Litiana and Anahila can resonate with this, I always tell those that stand for politics or political parties, do not underestimate the women in the youth wing, because it's the women, and I speak from my experience, it's the women, they are the foot soldiers on the ground with the youths. It's the women that will be there first. It's the women that will be there the last. So if you underestimate the presence of women in your party, and if you sort of say, especially in the Pacific Islands, oh, we don't need them, they can also shut down your party. Right now I'm seeing there's a lot of political parties that have spruced up under this current government in place. There's more new parties that have come up, and I'm looking and I'm going, where are the women? Where are the youths? If you don't have these 2 in there, good luck to your political campaign. And given the dehoned election system that we have in Fiji, you need to have, there's a phrase that the Maramambale always says, and I'll see it in the Itoke language, meaning when I look, my eyes have to, it sees, and I see people in it, and it hits. So right now, the leaders that are standing from these new political parties that are trying to stand in the next election, I'm looking right past them, meaning I don't know who they are. What have they contributed to themselves first? You want to stand for a political party, the first thing I will look at is your home. What have you done? What have you contributed? Do you have your own house? Have you run a business? The success, what do you have? Your children? All those things. Otherwise, it'll be very, very hard. And given that next year is supposedly election year, but I'm hearing it's going to be in January 2027, Fiji is it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting elections next year. Very, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you too. Litiana, I want to ask you if you can pick up on what Tanya was saying around ensuring that young women are there in the parties. And then I've got a question that's come through from one of our attendees that I also want to share with you all.
At first, you have to be someone that people look up to, especially in your home, in your community. And as a youth leader, this is something that will take time. I am happy that we have an MP that is a female, a really, really, really strong advocate for women in leadership. So I haven't personally met her yet, but I am inspired by the things that she's doing in our communities. So yes, I will echo our speaker's words that having that support from women and from youth is something that will go a long way. So I was also recently approached, I think a few months ago, by a youth group that they really wanted to support me in trying again for the upcoming election, and this was something that it came as a surprise because they actually follow the work that I do with youths from other communities, and they wanted to see how we could work together and have representation from youth in the parliament. So even if it will not be successful, but I take that as something good that came out from me trying to contest and then failing. I hope that answered your question.
Oh, it's good. And some of these questions that are coming through, I'm going to share them now. You may be repeating yourselves, but it may also be an opportunity to take the conversation further and in different directions. Marilyn, acknowledging your question, how important are women-led community support systems to a woman's success in politics?
Yeah, I can answer that one. I'll take that one. Okay, thank you.
Each
That's
of
a
you
really
can
good
answer.
question.
Go for it.
Yeah. So I'm a member of my village here in New Zealand, Aotearoa. I'm also a member of my church, Whakawhiangai Maonioni, and I'm also a member of the Pacifica Inc., which is a women's group here in New Zealand. In Pacifica Inc., in my church and in my village, there, especially Pacifica Inc., there are all these conversations and challenges and passionate discussions that happens in that group. So how the reason why I talk about that is because politics starts at church, it starts in the village groups, and it starts in the women's group. So when I became the chair of Commonwealth Women Parliamentarian for the Pacific region, that's representing 11 countries in the Pacific, I went to Uganda, and the Voice of the Pacific Women said to me in our meeting, that most of the men are selected to attend the Commonwealth Parliamentarian Association conferences, and the women only attend on the one day when it's the women's voice. So what they said was, what can we do to make sure that our women actually are selected by our member countries to attend the conference? So we took that remit, and because New Zealand has a reputation in terms of engaging internationally, but when I took the learning that I took from my village hōwhua, from my church Whakawhiangai Maonioni, especially Pacifica Inc., was that I went to the women of over 70 countries in the Commonwealth Parliamentarian Association conference and spoke to them about the plight of the Pacific woman not attending these conferences because they're not selected. So I took the wisdom that I got from the women groups and went and spoke to women in these meetings. And at the end, it took 3 years, but we changed the constitution of the Commonwealth Parliamentarian Association that every country's delegation to these meetings must meet 30%. We started with 50, but we then, the constitution was changed to a third of all traveling delegations must be made up of women. So what the Commonwealth Parliamentarian Associations have done, I've been told, is that they've applied that to their governance, that they're now working in that their governing group must have a third of women. So I hope that story answers the question that absolutely, with the Pacifica Women group here in New Zealand, Pacifica Inc., in that group, when you come to one of our conferences, you will see the battles happening there. But that is actually seeing women argue a point that is okay to voice your opinion in a respectful manner. So yes, it is, because when you're journeying in terms of making a difference in this world, we're not alone, and being part of a women's group actually is a benefit to the journey.
Malo, Anahila, Tanya, what's your experience of women-led community support systems?
It's well, for me, I'm not part of any NGO or anything because I'm a full-time lawyer. I had lawyers that supported me. Number one, I'm a member of my church, and also my school network, and those that knew me. But I didn't come from like I said, like the NGO sector, which is very strong here. Because I remember in the 2022 campaign, there was some NGO advocates campaigning for the candidates, and they're now sitting in Parliament. And that's, it is what it is. That's their right. It's their freedom under the Constitution. I did not get in 2022. It is what it is. Yeah, I mean, but just to add on to what Anahila said, I believe it's important because if I remember Lenora Tambua, she's well before she entered politics, she's always been a climate change advocate. Environment has always been big with her. Then you've got Linda. Linda does, right now she's involved in our provincial rugby, apart from being a minister, and so that's good. And next week, our province is going into the finals. I guess for me, I just do it different. I don't want to be joining a group for the purpose for them to sort of take me into politics. I have the party's ideologies there. I resonate with that. That's the value that I have with that party, and I will stand for that. And if people vote for me based on the values and the principles that I stand for, then I go. And if I don't, That's fine. I accept that. One of the challenges that we have here, like in the US, it's either you're a Republican or Democrat. We had a youth parliament. I was away, and one of my associates, Samuel Asavo, he was involved in politics. He was a youth, Sodelpa youth executive. He took 1 week off to be part of the Fiji youth parliament, and then I met he introduced me to one of the youth parliamentarians, and I asked the youth, like, who did you vote for? And he goes, oh, I voted for this party. I said, why? He said, oh, because I like that person. I said, okay. And if that person dies, will you still vote for that party? And that youth gave me a long stare. Like, I said, do you vote for the person or the ideologies of that party? And because here, and this is what I see, is people vote because they like the person, not because of what the person stands for. And that's something that, for me, I may not agree with the current leadership of SODELPA or the executives. Doesn't mean I will leave the party. Otherwise, I'm seen as a party hopper. Then my ideologies, I'm voting for that person because of that person and not the ideologies of the values of what that party stands for. And that's something, for me, I find as a challenge in Fiji, because it's so easy for people to jump ship and then go. And then I'm like, as a voter, you're following the person. You're not following the ideologies of that party. And I liken it to my Christian faith. Jesus died. Doesn't mean that I leave the Christian faith. His teachings then is still now. I will stand as a Christian. My faith is with Christianity, and that will never change. Despite him gone, the faith for me as a Christian still remains. Doesn't mean he dies. I move on to the next one. Yeah. Thank you,
Tanya. Thank you. Okay, acknowledging this next question, and this is for all of you to answer, but we can jump to Litiana first. Thank you, Sarah Sandville, thank you. Curious to hear the thoughts of the panelists on how civil society organizations, both locally and regionally, can best support women's political leadership, including what kind of activities, events, projects you would recommend to strengthen women, especially young women's pathway to Parliament and other political leadership roles. Litiana, let's start with you. Oh, let's unmute you.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, so I represent youth-based group that is civil society. So as an individual, I try my best to be involved in other youth groups and women groups that will guide me in achieving what the group represents. So from my experience as a youth leader in the youth group that I represent, we do a lot of, I mentioned earlier during my introduction, that we engage a lot of young women and also young men in leadership trainings. So these leadership trainings help us to sort of gender sensitize our participants to understand, while these are the norms, there's an alternative to be able to achieve a certain thing. And bearing in mind that we do take into account that every single person in the room is important. Our voices need to be heard. So in our culture, in Vanuatu, it is male dominated. And the challenge is actually doing these leadership workshops themselves, especially if we have, let's say we have a chief representative in the room or a male figure in the room, because they will always at certain times go against what we are trying to do. But in the end, I think as a volunteer, it's important to to conduct these kind of leadership awareness to strengthen and to empower other women that are interested in pursuing these kind of leadership roles, whether it is in politics or other leadership positions. As a civil society, it is important to continue to do these empowering sessions based on leadership. So this is something that we do continuously. So we not only do leadership sessions, but we also encourage the participants to organize activities like small beach cleanups or tree planting. So this is where we ensure that we empower and support them at the same time. We build their trust and we push them to try and do something, because small things like this can go a long way, even if it's just a simple, hey, 5 youths are meeting together to clean up a certain area in the beach or something like that. So I think providing that space to continuously make them feel empowered, to let them know that you are here to support them, this is something that will actually build up their confidence and build up the character and give them wings to fly, to put it that way. So as a youth volunteer in the civil society space, these are the activities that I am continuously doing during my free time.
Thank you. Anahila, do you have anything to add in terms of activities, events, projects that civil society can provide to strengthen, support young women's pathway or any woman's pathway to Parliament?
Yeah, thank you, Susana. I think that question points that someone else should be doing something, and that being a political leader, that someone else should be doing something. The experience that I shared is that my life experience through my village, through my church, was the beginning of my political leadership, and also through the women's organization that I belong to. Although I said that my grandfather had always called me a member of Parliament in our family, I didn't become political until 2008, when there was a change of government, and then I could see that people were suffering in that government of the day in 2009. So there was a calling for me to go and change the government. So I have been a public servant working for the government through the Labour Party for so long, and then when when the following party became into power, that's actually what motivated me to ask the question, well, who makes the laws in this country and what can I do about it? So that's when I joined the Labour Party. So really being political and civic society, they are there, but number one first is that we are a member of that society, and every day, especially if we're a member of a village group or a church group, when they are elected into their roles, in the leadership roles, that's political. And the strategies that we learn from there is actually, we can use that strategy, like I've shared, that I've taken that internationally and used it to change things for women. So yeah, it's just, that's my contribution to that part.
No, very good. Tanya, did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, next question, and thank you for these questions. Should there be rules in countries where the number of women parliamentarians are very low to require a greater percentage of women parliamentarians?
Well, they've tried that. Samoa's got the quota system with 10%. So Samoa has that. And here in New Zealand, within the Labour Party, that's in our constitution, that we had a plan that by 2020, over 50% of Labour members of Parliament would be women, and we've achieved that. So they've tried that in Samoa, and it worked. Other parts of the Pacific, perhaps not.
Not so much.
But it depends on the concept or the journey of each country.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that question, because that was actually a topic of discussion, I think, early this year, with some of our women lawyers, very senior, said, hey, need to include it in the constitution or the election law, where there's a minimum requirement of women. I believe it should start first from the political parties themselves. And if there's a way that in their own constitution that you must have a minimum numbers of women in your party, the standing, then that's great, number one. One of the challenges we have here is women do not vote for women, sadly. If we want to get more women in parliament, women need to vote for women.
Is that because women aren't voting as much, or because women who, well, like, what is the voter turnout like?
Well, the numbers have dropped. I don't have the numbers with me, but 2014, 2018, 2022, the numbers have dropped, and I believe it's going to be much lesser next time around because the government has changed. Fiji First has gone. There was a huge turnout. People wanted Fiji First gone. So, but I believe it's from 2014 to 2018 to 2022, the percentage of people turning up to vote has dropped. And I don't have the stats with me whether it's dropped, in terms of the segment, whether it's female, male, the age. I don't have that with me, but we need more. Right now, we have there's Sashi's in there, Karen, there's Linda, there's Alitia, and there's Pramila Kumar. There's only 4 women. So the 4 roses amongst all the, so to speak, male thoughts inside. But those women are strong. You got to be a strong woman to stand, number one, for politics. You got to have a very, very thick skin. Yeah, but it needs to start first with every political party's constitution. That's the way it is, because you can't, it'll be quite challenging to put in our constitution or in any constitution that you must have this minimum requirement of women and youths, and at the end of the day, it's the freedom of the people. Yeah. But it's
Litiana?
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Tanya.
That's it, I'm done. Thank you.
Litiana, what are your thoughts around percentage?
In Vanuatu at the moment, no, but I am aware that for the provincial election, I think we have a reserved seat for women. That's mandatory. But for general election, a woman just contests as well as men. There are no temporary special measures for that. I was part of a network of women called the Vanuatu Civil Society Influencing Network. So back then in I think it was before 2020, we did a petition, paraded through town, delivering a sort of the document we paraded into Parliament. So it was a 50-50 petition signed by women in the network to ask for women to have seat in the upcoming election. So it wasn't successful in the general election, but at least it was a start of something where women saw the need to come together and do something for the benefit of future women who wanted to contest in general elections. So that's all that I can say for now. I don't want to add more to what I'm not clear on. But yeah, for Vanuatu at the moment, we have none for those women leaders wanting to contest in the general elections. But right now we do have we have 1 or 2 provincial councillors that are women. So that's a good start.
Next question. Thank you, Litiana. Thank you also, all our participants, with your questions. Do keep them coming, just pop them in the chat. This question has come through around gender diversity. What's your experience? How is it being received where you are? How is gender diversity acknowledged or not in the constitutions of your parties?
In terms of the New Zealand Labour Party, it's written in the constitution. It's in the structure of the governing body. So I think I've shared that before. It's in our structure, and that's what we strive to have We used to run a campaign in terms of the women within the Labour Party, 50-50 by 2020. So that became a norm, and we achieved that. So it is in our constitution in New Zealand. I just wanted to acknowledge that each country in the Pacific is different and in their journey into democracy. So although we share our own experiences, it needs to be heard with an understanding that colonization was throughout the Pacific, and most Pacific countries have independence of celebrate 50 or 60 years independence. And we're in Tonga this year, we're celebrating 150 years of a constitution. And here in Aotearoa, women had to vote some time ago. So the experiences, and that's why I always talk about that I'm a Tongan migrant in Aotearoa, because that tells the journey of my migration and where I stand to speak out for. So just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you. Tanya, do you have anything to add?
No, I think I've already mentioned about SODELPA's having a women's wing. In fact, in our constitution, when I was a party member, they have 3 women that sit on the management board. And that's and the management board is the governing board that makes the decisions for the party, and that's good. I mean, we have 3, and to have that 3 women allocated seats, huh?
Very much. This next question, and it's actually picking up, thank you, Lacey, for your question, and it's also picking up on a note that you made, Tanya. When we talk about women politicians needing to have a thick skin, can any of the panelists expound on what that looks like? How do you develop that thick skin? Why is it needed? And is it unique to being a woman in politics?
Do you mind if I go first? Okay. I always say this, Fijians should not be on social media. The type of comments that come, I mean, if you're bold enough to make derogatory statements on someone on social media, be bold enough to say it to their face. And knowing the women politicians that have come through Fiji's Hall of Parliament, I see all these women from the time of independence. They're strong women, even the ones in Parliament now and the ones that have served on both sides of the houses. And some of the comments that come goes down to the dress, the way they look. It's just shameful, it's shocking. So, and I know it affects there was a recent incident of one of our ministers, and yeah, that didn't only affect it affected her family, it affected the province, and it's cyberbullying, total cyberbullying. I know of this person that writes volumes, so to speak, on social media, and I met this person like 6 weeks ago. I walk up to this person, I said, "Oh, how are you?" He could barely speak a word. He writes on social media, and then it's so for a woman, you stand for elections, you got to have a very thick skin. In a small place like Fiji, where everybody knows everybody, it's got to even be thicker. But for me, I've always told my children, and I told myself, the only thing that will move me is the word of God. I couldn't care less what you say. The word of God comes, God speaks, that will move me. Because people will always say whatever they think they want to say. That should, as a woman politician or as an aspiring politician, don't worry about it. Let them talk. Because if you keep worrying about all those remarks and comments, you're not going to move, because you're worried about the negativity that's coming out of their mouths. I don't even acknowledge it. I don't even share their posts. There's a certain person that writes, I don't even mention, because they're not worth mentioning. They're, and now I tell myself, these people must have had a very rough childhood to have this much hatred coming out of their mouths, because it shows what's in their heart. So it doesn't bother me. I just move on. And besides, like I'm at an age, and I'm over 50, and I tell people, pardon my French, I'm at an age where I don't give a damn. And I believe all the ladies on this forum, we're at an age now where those kind of things, we don't give a damn. What you say about me or what I say about you, I don't find it offensive. If I say that's disrespectful, I'll apologize for that. But I've come through things in life where it's happened, move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Anahila, anything to add? Litiana, anything to add?
Yeah, thank you, Tanya, for your contribution. And throughout my contribution today, I've spoken about my faith, my values, and what I bring. So wherever we go, whether we are in the classroom or at work or political campaigning, the culture, social, political is always going to be there. But it is how we navigate ourselves. So for me, your purpose has to be strong enough for you to be psychologically fit. So I teach Whakataukatea Indigenous leadership, which is leadership development from Aotearoa New Zealand from Tongan wisdoms. And the three principles that I stand on is about ofa, love, whataungia, responsibility, and tukupa, which is our commitment to that responsibility. So once you are focused on your purpose and what contribution you want to contribute, then everything else is noise. And to be able to shut out the noise, you need to know where your principles are at. So I am also over 50, so my vision is about legacy, legacy in what I leave for the next generation and how I conduct myself. So my social media posts, they are all positive because if I want someone to speak positively to me, I send a positive message out, and I don't engage in negative talk online. And yeah, so just be purposeful and know your values and your principles, and that's how you conduct yourself and navigate the journey.
Thank you, Anahila. Litiana, what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Susana. I think the other two speakers have already said a lot on this. I just have two things. One is don't let those comments weigh you down. And the other point that I want to add is to find support in those that support you. Because finding support in the circle of support that will continuously support you is strength that will help you move forward.
Litiana, while we're speaking, a question has come through around gender identities. And I wondered, given your work as a volunteer, if you were able to elaborate how political systems can draw on gender diversity and inclusion.
Sorry. Okay. Gender. So my experience. So I have I'm involved in gender sensitization awareness to certain members of the community, just to challenge their mindset and see how we can involve more of these vulnerable groups in our everyday work. So as a woman in such spaces, as a young woman, it is a bit challenging, especially people are so used to doing what they always do. So trying to challenge their mindset is something that, even although challenging, you take it one step at a time. So the kind of leadership trainings that I do allow a free space where we encourage community members, participants to share their thoughts, reflect on their cultures, and try to do better in order to be inclusive of the people that are around. Or these leadership trainings help them in certain areas because we're all at different stages in our lives. So whether it's community work that they do or a certain job that they're bound to do 8 hours daily in a day, these are small sessions that encourage them. I think one of our speakers has a great experience doing that. I'm speaking from a volunteer experience and my involvement in my community. I hope that answers that question, or should I add more to that?
No, that's a great answer. I mean, the beautiful thing is we could all keep asking questions, speaking with the three of you all afternoon, and I'm very mindful of the time, wanting to give each of you a final comment, thought, sharing before I summarize very quickly and hand back to Julie. But thanking each of you, Anahila, Tanya, and Litiana, for our past hour and a half of power.
Vinaka.
Any
All
final,
right, so, okay.
words from each of you?
All right. For me, I always look at the wisdom of Tonga, Queen Charlotte. I always look at her wisdom. And one of her songs, she writes, "Lapa he manatu uk whāni fu i he loto." The wisdom says that we're jolted by memories surfing in our heart. Hey, always remember your ancestors and that the strength that you have is within you. And sometimes we forget that those ancestors are always with us. So, also in the wisdom of Queen Charlotte in the same song, she says that "Ko tā wau ki whangatapu, tuke mauna ake tawhia." So when you reach your destination, stand firm, otherwise you get swept away. So know your identity, know your culture and your purpose. Once you know that, everything else is a noise. And often we look outside of ourselves for wisdom and for enrichment. I look at the Tongan Queen, late Queen Charlotte, for wisdom and for encouragement in my journey. And in my program, Whakataukātea, Indigenous Leadership, I bring that wisdom and I share that with the people that come through the pathway of Whakataukātea. And then that, malo aupito.
Malo aupito, Tanya.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder. Stay true to your values. Whatever happens, don't change. Don't change, because one day everything will go. Politics will go. All the titles will go. It's just you and what you believe in, and the values that you've been taught, and the values that you've grown up in. And I wish every aspiring female politician the very best. It'd be great to have more women in Parliament. But for me, I'm not in Parliament. That's why but I believe I make more of an impact outside Parliament as well. Wherever we are, we don't have to be in Parliament to be people of impact. We can be anywhere and be people of impact. Thank you. Kanaka wale for this opportunity.
Vinaka Vakalevu. Litiana.
Thank you, Susana. Okay, for me, I'll just leave the group with a sentence. So it goes like this: don't be afraid to try. There will always, in this life, there will always be people who support you, and there will always be people who don't support you. The important thing is for you as an individual to give it a go. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Tanku too much. I want to also acknowledge Rochelle. Thank you to each of our speakers. Thank you to Rochelle for curating this. Thank you to Zenaida for being our tech extraordinaire person. And back to you, Julie, to close out for today.
Kia ora. Thank you very much. It's just been a marvellous session, and I'm really grateful to have heard about the realities on the ground, but also about the expectations of strength and leadership by the women who've talked today. Hearing about the experiences moving into leadership roles and their and on their perspectives on the future of women's leadership, and that reflection that it is our roots and our garden that gives us purpose, which I certainly resonate with as well. I mean, it takes courage to lead. Their stories reflect this. So ngā mihi nui Anahila, Tanya, Litiana and Susana. Thanks also to all those who've spread the word about our webinar series, and for people who ask a question, mihi kia koutou, and also for everyone attending. We do have another one coming up on the 22nd of October. That's going to be taking a view from what civil society are expecting from parliamentarians. It's for having that broad conversation. And we've got Georgelia Wawa from Vanuatu and Elizabeth Kite from Tonga. She's the founder of Take the Lead. So some really good things coming up. I'm going to finish on a poem by Lauren Brantz, who's an American, and she's just reflecting on her child. She said, it's building up again, that feeling in my chest that my daughter may see a woman as president. The way that would change the limits of her own mind, her own potential, her own worth, the way that would change the very fabric of her dreams suddenly feels so close, it's bursting at the seams. That sort of expectation of what women have and can do. So thank you very much. I wish you all the best. Mate wā. Goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah, mate wā.